Chapter 11, Section 4. Objective, learn to solve and graph inequalities by using multiplication or division. Essential question, how do I write an inequality from a word problem? Notice from the objective, the emphasis is on multiplying and dividing today, so that should be a big hint as to what you should be doing for operations. The steps for solving inequalities by multiplying or dividing are the same as for solving equations, with one exception. If both sides of an inequality are multiplied or divided by a negative number, the inequality symbol must be reversed. So the negative changes the direction of the sign. Couple pointers, remember when graphing an inequality on a number line, an open circle means that the point is not part of the solution. A closed circle means that the point is part of the solution. Solve and graph. First we identify the variable, which is a, and we see that a is part of a fraction, which we know also means division. So 12 is less than a divided by 4. Our first step would be to get a by itself by multiplying both sides by 4. We get 48 is less than a, or if we'd like to write the a first, pay attention to the fact that we rotate everything around, so it would be a is greater than 48. We make our number line. The ones you see here may not be identical to what we did in class before. Remember I said that the steps that I wanted was 48 in the middle, 2 numbers on each side, and that was good enough. So if you start at 48, it's an open circle because there's no line saying equal to, and the values that are greater than 48 would be to the right. Special rule, this is the one brand new thing today. When you multiply or divide an inequality by a negative number, you need to flip the sign. This is only for multiplying and dividing. Here's an example of what that would look like. Negative 9 times b is less than or equal to 45. So to solve for b, we have to divide both sides by negative 9. Notice what happened to the arrow. It changed directions. A negative changes the direction it needs to go. So we continue on with our problem. B is greater than or equal to negative 5. Put our number line with negative 5 in the middle. This will be a closed circle, and the numbers that are greater than negative 5 are to the right. Solve and graph. 16 is greater than b divided by negative 5. This is another example of having to multiply or divide by negative. We have to multiply both sides by negative 5, so again we flip the sign. Negative 80 is less than b, or b is greater than negative 80. Starting at negative 80 with an open circle, arrow to the right. $12 is less than or equal to negative 4a. Predict to yourself if you have to flip the sign or not in this case. So let's see what steps we need to take. We divide both sides by negative 4, so that means we have to flip the sign. If you made that prediction, give yourself a pat on the back. We get negative 3 is greater than or equal to a, or a is less than or equal to negative 3. Starting our number line at negative 3, closed circle, arrow to the left. Solve and graph. This one, if we make a prediction, we look and see that we have negative 8 is less than 4x. Make a prediction on whether we'll have to multiply or divide by negative and flip the sign. So if this is our variable 4x, in order to get rid of that we would divide by 4 to both sides. So take a look at this step right here. Did we divide by a negative? No. We did not divide by a negative. So do we need to flip the sign? No. We don't need to flip the sign. So just because you see a negative number does not mean you flip it. It has to be the number that's with the variable. So we get an answer of negative 2 is less than x. Make our number line, put our arrows, put negative 2 in the middle, put 2 numbers on each side, And now we decide what kind of circle. Well, there's no equal to, so it'll be an open circle. -2 is less than x. I want to flip this around to make more sense. So if I mirror this, that'd be x is greater than -2. Oh, okay, so the numbers that are greater would be to the right. Let's take a look at a word problem. All right, a rock collecting club needs to make at least $500. They're buying rocks for $2.50 and selling them for $4. What is the least number of rocks the club must sell to make their goal? Well, let's think about what we know so far. So make a plan. Make a plan with what we're going to do with this information. Use the information to write an inequality. That's what needs to get done. Let's pick a variable, so we'll choose R to represent rocks, and let R represent the number of rocks needed to be sold in order for the club to make at least $500. Now we know it's an inequality because it says at least. So that means that we could reach that amount or we could go over 500. So think about what we need to do. We need to take $4 minus the $2.50 to find out the amount of money we're going to make per rock. Multiply that by R, and that amount needs to be greater than or equal to $500. So let's solve for the information. So we get $1.50 per rock. So if we take 150 divided by 150 and 500 divided by $1.50, we get R is greater than or equal to 333.3 repeating. So let's summarize that. 334 rocks need to be sold in order for the club to make at least $500. But why did it have to be 334? Because R could equal 333.3 repeating. However, we're not going to sell part of a rock. So we had to round up to the next nearest whole number so that we could get the full amount. Make sure your notes are filled out completely. On the left-hand side, write questions that can be answered from the material in your notes. Try to think about the 3 different levels of questioning. Review your notes, highlight, underline, etc., and complete the summary before you come to class.